Hello everyone, it's Linda from Linda Z's in Arlington Heights, Illinois, and I have some really fun things for you today. Many of you have asked about the vintage quilts from our vintage little exploration of them yesterday. In fact, I had 4 of you come into our store today to actually see the beautiful hand stitching. So I have one more for you to be able to see. Look at the metallic. I think the camera can get that. Again, they're antique quilts. They are not new, but look at the surprise on the back. I mean, it's just amazing. They're a variegated. They are just spectacular what happens with them. So I'm going to put this one aside, and I want to show you what I have on, because this is a vintage jacket. It's got lots of, it's called Cantha. Lots of hand sewing on it and all hand stitching. Now, normally I start with that quilt. You can see some of Ricky Tim's behind me. You know, we're going to have him doing a virtual on June 26th and 27th. So it's on our website. You can click on it and actually join it still. But today we have a very special guest that I'm going to be introducing. It's Suellen. She's one of our teachers, and she's going to be doing some ByAnnie Quilt as you go instructions. So a really, really marvelous class that normally you would have to pay quite a bit for. But I know some of you are still struggling with coming out and, you know, still being in the house. And I wanted to do something extra special. So we are going to give you this class at no charge. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of things that Suellen has done. I love this one. It's got little magnets, and look at how simple it is to open up. And this is called Just in Case. It's one of the patterns by ByAnnie with, we did a little embroidery on it. Here's another one. You'd think it would be the same, but it's not, because you will see it's got a different name on it. It's called Open Wide, because it's got a zipper, and see how it opens up real wide, and look at all the pockets inside. I mean, it's just a marvelous, marvelous pattern. I think you'll really like it. This is, I believe, Tula Pink, isn't it? I've got Caroline here with me, so you're going to see something that she's got on too. This is another one that I think it's called Stash and Dash. And look at how fun the lime and polka, I know this is Tula, with the zippers, and this is called the mesh on the inside. I have a couple of notions I want to show you. Many of you have commented on the little scissor video we did. It's quite a long one because it's teaching you exactly how to do this. And this little scissor video is on our YouTube channel. Now, one last notion that I'm going to bring Caroline in here. This is Kay's wonderful, and this is a little preview of what we're going to be doing on the 4th of July. This right here is going to be an absolute bargain. I won't tell you how much, but a lot off, and it teaches you about all the different rulers for quilting. And this is another one, so go on our website. You'll see Kay's lovely information and all kinds of techniques about quilting. Now, this is one of my favorite patterns. It is really, it's called, I better turn it right side up so you can see it. It's called Princess Angel. And Caroline, who is helping us in our new video studio today, is here with us. She did not know I was going to bring her in, but come on in and look at her great. Now, that's on the book, right, on the pattern?
This is using that pattern. I just used one color instead of several.
Great. And she didn't do the extra piece. She just did the whole entire thing.
Yes.
In one. And you did the set-in sleeve, right?
Yes. That's what I like.
One.
Yes.
So look at how wonderful. You're very reasonable. And Caroline, we have that on the website, right?
Yes, we do. Okay. And it's really easy to make. And if you have a serger, it's even easier.
Oh, great. You did that all.
On the serger.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much. I know you have all been absolutely wonderful doing and helping what we're doing. So enjoy this wonderful presentation right now by Suellen.
Hi, this is Suellen. I'm back again. Today we're going to be talking about how you can quilt as you go. There are lots of ways to do quilt as you go, or to prepare soft and stable for making bags. And so this is one way that I've used for quite a number of bags by Annie, but I've given all of them away by and large. So I did bring up this picture on Facebook. It's on my sister-in-law's Facebook page. And this is a bag that I made for her using Quilt As You Go, using my father-in-law's ties after he had passed. And so that's an example. It is the ultimate travel bag. So that is one just as an example of one that I've done. I've also done others of the travel essentials. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. And with the travel essentials, when I use the sizes on the back or in the pattern that tell what size to cut the pieces of soft and stable, but then I add just a little bit, and so that they're a little bit larger. This is the piece of soft and stable that will be for the top and the bottom of this organizer, so it's going to be cut into 2 strips. But as I was looking at the soft and stable I had on hand, I had 2 pieces that were almost the right size. So I used on the front and back woven stay tape and joined them together, and so now it works just fine. So for the Annie bags, you do need to have something on the front and something on the back, because you do use the front and the back on all of hers. Now this is another example of Quilt As You Go, and these are a pattern that I developed, but this is a Quilt As You Go just strip piecing, and this is another Quilt As You Go, but instead I appliqued on, and then you can see it's quilted, just kind of free motion echo quilting. And so there are lots of options. You can just kind of let your imagination go. When we did these bags at Linda's, one of the things that worked really well was to use the strips. And so if you have some, or you can use scraps. So if you have any packages that you've been wondering what you can do with them, they're great for quilting as you go with making bags from the Annie patterns. When you're doing the bags, one of the things you're going to want to do is figure out what do you want, how do you want your strips to go. If you want them all to be vertical, then I would suggest that you draw lines on the soft and stable, and that will help you keep them lined up. And so there are lots of different really good markers. This one you can use the heating away. You could use the water soluble. You can use chalk. And so there are lots of different ways. It just depends on what color you're trying to cover over. Because soft and stable does come in black as well as white. So if I was using the black soft and stable, I'd be using one of the chalks. For this one, I used one that would show up on the white. So let's look at how you get started. So on getting started, what I've done, I got this one partly done, and you'll notice that on my sewing machine here, I have it set up with a walking foot. Now, a walking foot is really, really good when you have 3 or more layers that you want together. They work a little bit differently from the built-in walking feet that you can have, because those pull from the back. This one clamps things together and it moves the whole sandwich together along. And so it works mechanically, it works differently than the feet that pull from the back that can get things out of alignment. And you'll notice here there is a 1/4 inch bark, and so if you have the needle here, you can always line up with the inside edge of this foot right here, and you have your 1/4 inch. So let me sit down and I will show you how we do this. It's pretty easy. So I just have a variety of strips. Now you'll notice that they're kind of hanging off the front and back. And so what I have here, that I just pick the next one that I might want to use. And I start in the middle, and now I'm working out. Let me turn the iron on, because I do like to iron the strips between each one. Okay, so now that'll be ready when I'm ready. And now I'm going to be covering up where I joined this one together. So I just line this up, line the 2 edges up. And you can see this is not quite, since I was using scraps, this is not quite straight. So I'm going to have it go straight like this. And get the foot pedal. Here we go. And I chose a thread that I would want to show on the other side. And so I'm using kind of a dark purple because this will show on the inside of the cosmetic bag, the travel bag. And now I'll turn it around. And let's choose this one. And I'll line this up. And you can see again, that'll keep me straight. And so rather than just following the edge of that fabric, and you'll see here, I joined two pieces. This wasn't quite long enough, so I just joined two pieces together. So I'm going to put this all the way over at the farthest away part. And I'll put this one then going straight up. And now I'm back straight again. But it really, you don't have to stay straight. You can do them at an angle, you can overlap. You'll notice when I did the bag using the ties, I just did it kind of crazy quilt style. And so you can do any design you really want. Okay, so now after I've done one on each side, then I'm going to bring it over to the iron. I'm going to press that open. And then that helps me when I'm doing the next rows. But this is just left over from a quilt I did. Actually, this was a kit that I got, and I made a number of quilts using it. And so then you're just going to keep going like that all the way out to the edges. So let me get set up, and I will show you another one. The piece over here, this is going to be the cosmetic bag, and it wraps up like this. So I wanted the stripes going vertically. So on this one then, I pieced together some squares, and I'm going to put them, I have it marked so that I can just go right up the middle. And I have them lined up between the two lines, and I'll put those on and we'll be ready to go. So to start it out, then I'm going to line up two pieces right from the beginning. And here you can see this one has lots of pieces. And so you can piece things, and then I'll show you how I made the other bag with the appliques. We'll do some fun things down the middle of the squares. So here we go. And that line just helps me keep it straight. Yep, the seam's going the right way. Okay, so I'll be back once I get this on, and you can see what I'm doing. So I'll be back in just a minute. We're back. I've completed some of the sewing, but I wanted to show you a couple other techniques before I finish up the final parts. What I wanted to show you here was if you get offline, this is an exaggerated offline, or if you choose to have some angles, what you can do is, let's audition. Do we want this one, or do we want this one? I think I'll go with this one. And so to angle like this, I'm going to take it over here at the corner, and I'm going to take it over here at the corner. I could even go all the way across over here, and then it would, you know, end up looking like that. But I think I'm just going to go right here. So you can really just kind of play with this and have fun. And so, let me close this. But again, I'm just using the 1/4-inch mark on this foot. These strips are not, these are remnant strips, and so they're not totally accurate. If you use a jelly roll, all of your strips will be very accurate, and so you can have it. So then we have, now you notice that just like when you're paper piecing, you have to make sure that the ends extend. So I think I'll go I'll have another one that goes at an angle here. Just kind of whatever you think would be fun. Okay. And then let's straighten it back up. So now if I want to straighten it back up, I'm going to bring this over. I don't have to have quite as long a strip. Maybe I'll go with this one. And I'm just going to go vertical again. You can kind of see this line that I've drawn to help if I want to stay straight. So I'm just going to line it up along that line. And now I'll just sew, and all of a sudden we have it going back horizontally again. So there we have it going horizontally again. And what do we want for a final color? Maybe a dark one over here. And I think I'll go this one just a little bit of an angle again. Press this open, and then I would seal around the edge. So you can see that you can have some randomness. It doesn't have to all be parallel. Now, what I did then to finish off these is I got out the pattern, and I looked at, okay, for the body of the organizer, out of this piece, it was the 14 by 30, but I made it in 2. I needed to have a 12 by 27. So I measured and I drew it in chalk, and so that I could have my 12 by 27 for the body of the organizer. Now, whenever you're making Annie bags, it's important to seal the edges. That means sewing very close to the edges. So I drew a line here in chalk, and then I sewed just right inside that chalk line, because this will be 12 by 27 then, and that gives me, I've already finished the step of sealing the edge before I even cut it out. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you was on this bag, this is also quilt as you go, but it was a different technique, and it was making these strips. And so I wanted to show you how I did that. These bias strip makers are awesome. And I absolutely love it. This is the clover tape. Now I'm out of the one that actually goes with this. This is the clover tape for a smaller. You can get these in different sizes, all sorts of different sizes. But it's a heat adhesive. And so as I have this strip here, then it starts out looking like this. And I simply pull this along. And out the other side comes this great bias tape here. I use this, I don't have to have the glue on it, but I use this bias tape maker all the time for garments as well as bags, making the little pulls, all sorts of things. But it's also great for if you want to applique some
free motion kinds of viney type things on quilts, or if you want your bias tape on a garment to match the fabric that you're sewing the garment with. So you can get these in many different sizes. But what this does is it has this tape going right down the center where the two raw edges have come together. We're almost finished here. And then we can iron it onto okay. So I'm going to tear this. And then I peel this off. Let's start at this end. And now I can adhere this right down the middle here. And this, if you ever have a place where you just kind of missed a little bit, or you don't like the way it looks, you can do this and then just do a blanket stitch along the edge, or like I did on the bag I made. I just made it, I simply did a straight stitch along the edge. I used the edge stitch foot, and it worked great. So I'm just buying, and you could do vines with leaves. You could do any type pattern you wanted. I'm just kind of going straight. This bag has a lot going on. Okay, so then I'm just going to snip this off.
Well, we're definitely not experts at doing this filming stuff. So on our last attempt, we ended up doing slow motion. So this is a take 2 on the Quilt As You Go episode. So since that time, I have completed doing a number of the t-shirt quilts, but now I'm working on some quilts of valor. And so it's kind of fun to have a different focus on what I'm working with at this point. But today, we're going to be looking at some different options for doing the Quilt As You Go. One of the things that I find is kind of fun is just designing as I go. Now, we talked about earlier how this is a 1/4 inch mark. And so let's say I decide, well, I'd like to add some interest, and so I'm going to just do an angle over here. So I need to make sure that I have at least a 1/4 inch right here, but then if it's more, it's no problem. So let's just see how this goes. And so that's kind of fun. So now I'm going to give it a quick press. This keeps it nice and flat. And now let's see, I keep my pieces sorted by size, and so that I can look here. And let's say I decided, well, I kind of like 2 pieces, so let's look at that color and maybe this color. So we'll sew them together. We're going to open the seam up. It's not quite enough yet, so we'll add, well, let's add this one here.
random. I just kind of try to not have them sorted so that I can just pick up the next one, and now it's long enough. So now what I'm going to do is, oh no, we need just a little bit more. Let's put one on this end. Now we definitely have enough. And it kind of gives a nice visual to have the variety. So now we'll just kind of end up over here. So we've gone from straight to angled, and now we have kind of a visual line here. Now let's look on the other side. Let's say we want to do another angle over here. Love the knee lift. Lets me keep both hands working to have the knee lift. And I really like having this light here that lets me have good visual. So now I have another angle going over here, and that kind of is a nice, I'm liking this pattern. So let's put a narrow one in, give it some more variety. I need to press that. It's not staying down. It's important to press, especially with these little ones. Now it's staying down. I couldn't get it to stay down evenly. That's how you end up getting having it less even. So, now we can get it going. What I did was, to make this bag, I looked at the size pieces I would need to make all the different components. And then I've used some scrap pieces of Soft and Stable so that I could make the pieces. So this is actually the top and bottom of the big pocket on the carrier. And then let's say I want to go back straight again. So now I can use this to go back straight again. So it doesn't matter if there's extra sticking out there. That's why you can go from straight to angle, back to straight. You could even put, I'll show you in just a second. You could even put an embellishment on a corner. You could have a little flippy corner on one side if you wanted. So let's say over here, we decided we wanted to do a flippy corner, and I wanted some blue up in the corner. So you see that's right there. So I can just go right on top. And now I have my flippy corner. So the last thing I'll do is I'll sew around the outside edge. I can kind of feel it with my finger. And we'll continue on and finish the other side. But you can see how you can, whoops, I'll have to reverse sew there. You can see how you can design as you go. The other thing that you can do that's kind of fun, now we're not going to be adding, that's so we can go back to just the regular 1/4 inch foot. And I have the wider stitch plate on so that I can do a zigzag. Now I'm going to go over to the quilting stitches, and I'm going to choose that stitch, and then I know I want it just a little bit longer. And actually I didn't want the 1/4 inch foot, I want the edge stitch foot. And then I'm going to line up the side of this. This is the piece of 1 inch wide fabric that I used this tool on, and so this went on the bottom and it adhered it, and so I've now ironed it on. So this is the 1 inch strip that I've turned into a piece of bias tape. And now I'll making your own bias tape has been great because you can use it in garments. Let's do this. You can use it in any of your quilting. You can use it for making the tabs. So it's another way to add visual interest to bags or to quilts or to whatever you're working on. So there is that. So that's a number of different ways that you can do quilt as you go. And so now I have the pieces pretty much that I can use to turn into another bag. This is the fabric that I was working on in the first half of this video. So this shows the completed package. This shows you using the iron-on strips. It's the same technique that was used to make this bag. And then these bags were used, these 2 bags were used doing just the strip piecing with the lines to make sure everything stayed vertical. So this is the clam up, this is the travel essentials, and then these are the Suellen Scrapalicious totes. And so that shows you the completed projects on some of the options for doing quilt as you go. Stay safe, enjoy your sewing, and you can use your stash.